what are some of your daily rituals, your daily habits that you engage in that you feel really keeps you grounded and allowing yourself to feel safe to just be who you are amidst all the whatever's going on?
Flip, so many compliments. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And it's so interesting because, like, actually, it's only really very recently that I've actually found myself to be quite comfortable being grounded and being in my body and being myself and feeling like I'm only just sort of getting to know who I really am, who the authentic version of myself is, when I'm not trying to like impress anybody. And yeah, I'm starting to understand that I have a tendency to spend a lot of time in my head. And that's not where my comfortable flow state is. I do spend a lot of time in the ocean. I spend a lot of time in nature, and that kind of helps me bring me back down into my body. I don't know how into astrology you are, but I'm a Pisces, so I generally find it quite uncomfortable to be incarnated in a physical form. I feel very deeply, and I'm very sensitive, and so to be in the body is becoming actually just like a practice, and yeah, a daily practice really. So my rituals, I've been really finding my feet with my rituals at the moment, and it's fundamentally just time in nature and time with the breath. Like I'm really learning about the power of the breath right now. And it's funny because even as I mention it, I'm like, remember to keep breathing through this podcast. I'm feeling a little bit anxious, and this is like a growth edge for me, having these kinds of conversations and doing it live. And I know that once I do get into my body and I get out of my head about things, I can get into a really nice flow state. But breath, for me, breath work in the morning is a really important one. And more recently, I've been also microdosing, doing the Stammet stack with the microdose.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever had that niacin flush in the stack before.
No, there's somebody in Austin that was just talking about it, not to cut you off, but I've been hearing about it a lot lately, which probably means it's coming at me soon. So please tell us more about that. And yes, I heard on the Otter podcast, which we'll get to, you talking about the Stammet stack and the breath work and stuff like that.
And now is that Paul Stamets?
Yeah, it's something of
Paul Stamets.
Yeah, Paul Stamets.
So explain
I've
that.
been
and
microdosing a little bit. Yeah, I've been microdosing a little bit, but not really bringing much structure to it. So not really measuring things out. But I made a good friend in the town that I'm staying in at the moment who's creating these beautiful microdosing capsules, and lion's mane, golden teachers, psilocybin 0.1 gram, and niacin, vitamin B3, I think. But the combination of which is quite an experience in itself. And I take it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach with some water, and I just drop into a meditation. And within 15, 20 minutes, the niacin is just fully vasodilating, like dilating all the capillaries throughout my whole body. And I go completely red, and my skin kind of gets a little bit itchy. And I have this feeling that it's like pushing all of the rest of the medicine of the other mushrooms, like into every cell of my being. And I then start going into some holotropic breath work at the same time. I find that to be, with or without the microdose, just the way that I like to have like a spiritual connection. That's kind of my go-to for a spiritual connection, is like a few rounds of breath work first thing in the morning. And that sets me up perfectly for my day. And I've done 4 of those days over the last week, and it's really helped me in a very recent shift that I felt in my being, that is kind of difficult to explain. But yeah, just it's one of those tools that's sort of built into my daily ritual, along with breath work, time in nature, swimming in the ocean first thing in the morning, have a very good connection with water. And I grew up actually kayaking in the UK is where I grew up, in the county of Surrey, which is just outside London. And there's some beautiful parts of the river, the famous River Thames that flows through Surrey. And so I found myself at a canoe club. And by the time I was sort of 12 years old, I was there every single day. And by the time I was 15 or 16, it was like twice a day. I got really serious about it. And it was a racing kayak club. So I was super happy spending most of my days on the water. And when I was a kid, we used to go on surfing holidays down to the west country of the UK, down into Cornwall and Devon. And I used to grab my bodyboard, put the wetsuit on, eat half a Cornish pasty, and just spend like the whole day in the ocean, happy as a clam. Like that's the place that I want to be. And living right next to the ocean, Cape Town, you were surrounded by oceans as well, so you can't really get too far from the sea. But that's a huge part of my ritual as well, is just spending time in nature, really. That's where I find my mind sort of calms down and I can just be in my body and everything kind of makes a little bit more sense. And I don't know if you feel that. I'm sure you feel that as well when you go into nature. It's just like a higher vibration. It feels like a healing vibration. It feels like coming home to me when I go for a walk in the nature reserve here.
Yeah. It feels better to the nervous system. It really does.
It's like a mental massage.
Yeah. Actually, what is it? Is it Japan? In Japan, they call it forest bathing. And it's interesting they put that bathing part on, because it really is. It doesn't feel like it's just hitting your feet, like you're bathing in it. It's all around you. Make sure y'all head over to benjosephstewart.com, become a member. You'll have access to the growing library of deeper dives where I talk about all the stuff that I really can't talk about on YouTube. Make sure you get involved in the Discord chat. That's where a lot of the conversation is happening, talking about new theories, being able to interweave into the greater conversation that is how we awaken infinity. That's our highest potential. And I just want to remind you, you are the most powerful technology ever known to creation. Wield it like an artist with a conscience.